Throughout these sessions, a language of looking has emerged for me. Words have always been at the heart of my practice, and this was no different. Because we were using the word looking so frequently, I began to really interrogate this. What is looking largely recognised as? What does it mean to me? I came to the conclusion that there are words we use all the time interchangeably, all of which tie into the looking web. Looking, seeing, knowing, understanding, searching, questioning, examining, believing. I realised they all had a place within my practice. In acknowledging them in this way, I realised that to me, looking is all of these things. It's such a broad term, something we say, for example, when we'd like someone to understand our point of view. In its most basic sense, it's a physical activity we constantly engage in. For many, looking is our primary way of understanding the world. A double take means to look and then look again, as if to clarify what it was we couldn't quite grasp the first time. For these reasons, the word looking captures a certain amount of depth. We are constantly questioning, evaluating, and re-evaluating. That is our natural state of being. This is especially true as makers. As artists, we are both looking and encouraging others to look. We are a mode through which questions and answers travel and intertwine and repel one another. Exploring this word forced me to reflect upon what it is I want people to see, know, and understand, and what it is I don't want them to. In the group crit, the silence at the start gave the room a chance to speculate on my work. It was interesting to hear that many of them preferred the not knowing of the silence. Before I spoke, the abstract nature of the forms in my work, combined with a few words strewn across the walls, lent itself well to a degree of ambiguity, crucially allowing the individual to see the work in relation to themselves. After I spoke, I felt as though the looking experience had changed, as though all my feelings and experiences were now projected onto it, and that others could sense this. This experience taught me to be very considerate in terms of how much you give away. I began to question how explicit I wanted to be about what the work was about, and thought that maybe it was enough for it to feel personal and evoke feeling. This semester, I've been thinking about how emotions are transmitted from the artist to the viewer, using the artwork as a vessel. How possible is this? Can the catharsis experienced by the maker be perceived by the viewer? I believe yes. Feeling through looking is possible. Maybe even our responsibility to ensure. In a way, I wanted my work to be like an exchange of empathy. It's often easy to be critical of ourselves for self-pity, but I wanted to create an equal platform for this, where very human emotions could be felt internally and experienced through looking, mirrored in the artwork. The piece I'm working on here was the height of an average person, the recurring form from my work placed to mirror the position of a heart, if the viewer were to stand directly in front. I wanted the looking experience to be reflective and transactional, and perhaps also comforting, to assuage some of the loneliness we carry around with us. In an essay by Hanneke Groentemoer, Art as a Form of Thinking, she suggests that rather than handing us an obvious meaning or narrative, a painting is capable of offering us a thought. It's as if, therefore, the viewer is in conversation with the artwork. The same way we are constantly pushed to think by the people around us, we are guided to thought by the creations of those people. In this way, the viewer and the work are unified to the point at which this marriage, this dialogue, is the work. One of our tasks was to voice the artwork of one of our peers, a process in which I lived out this kind of relationship. In spending hours with someone else's creation, I'm inclined to believe Groentemoer is right. I was offered many thoughts. Keris's work and my words work in tandem. To her work, Keris brings all that is her. I show up to her work with all that is me. I instantly thought of these black and yellow strips as sailing flags and rushed to research these, finding one that signalled to the other ships, "I wish to communicate with you." I thought, what a fundamental human thing it is to crave communication. Much of what I wrote upon reflection comes from the core of myself. It is brought to the surface by Keris's work. The artwork is a prompt, and we are unified, philosophising together. I loved this task and felt so fulfilled whilst working on it. Being able to give a voice to something encouraged me to look and draw on what I know to try and faithfully convey this piece of work. I will definitely refer to this in the future, even just in terms of the way I use language in my work. The second week of this course, we did a lo-fi zine workshop. This way of working has always intrigued me, but my knowledge of it was so limited. It was the practical making of this workshop that I ended up taking into my studio space, this time using bookbinding to create a series of 3 zines. At the heart of these was the experience of looking. These books embody the intimacy and trust of a maker sharing their work. They're not loud, in the sense that they don't desire a large wall on which to spread. I instinctively reached for them to be small. Everything I was going to put inside them felt so big, so difficult to contain within such a little thing. And yet this was totally representative of such large, welding feelings contained within the smallness of me. Something was said during the zine workshop about how intimate it was to be sat, just an individual and a book. That process of looking is distinctly different to something displayed on a wall. With the reading, you're turning the pages. Maybe this is even laboured. You're setting the pace. The books I've made have pages that have a little bit of weight to them, so you have to actively apply pressure to keep the pages back and focus on one pair of images at a time. Reading in this way is an entirely unique experience and varies from person to person, despite everyone literally viewing the same thing with their eyes. This form of looking feels like a relationship. It mirrors the concepts I'm exploring in my work. They speak to one another, and an end point is reached, in which the material has voiced all it needs to, and the individual agrees and places it down. Their time together has concluded. Throughout it all, I was conscious that within myself, I was looking for something. Looking to be vulnerable, understood, and looking for some kind of love. Writing started to seep into my practice in a way I'd always wanted it to. Writing is saying to no one and to everyone the things that is not possible to say to someone. In this quote, Rebecca Solnit voices exactly what this felt like. I often use you in the writing I make visible. It's direct address, and the group picked up on this in my crit. To me, there is a specific you, but this is generalised when any other viewer looks at my work. My you becomes theirs, and now it is ours. To conclude, these extended studio sessions have encouraged me to reflect on the way in which I look, what I'm seeking when I do, and the looking experience of those that view my work. It has elevated the unsuspecting practice of looking to be a core pillar of my practice in an almost therapeutic way. As Bader writes, seeing comes, seeing sees, seeing breathes its sage decrees.